They have no drinking water. There are bodies everywhere. And the situation in Derna, Libya has gotten extremely, extremely bad. They're estimating over 20,000 dead in this one small city. This is not a major city, it's a smaller city, but the whole downtown has been absolutely wrecked after two major dams upstream blew apart and dumped the water at 3 a.m. down onto the city. We're going to be talking about what has happened and transpired in Derna, Libya, and the situation there and what's going on, and how it can affect us, and some lessons to be learned from this. So let's jump into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant. And on this channel, we cover things that are either in the mainstream media, but they're not going into depth on it, or they just don't cover at all. And this is a human tragedy here in Derna, Libya that needs to be told. 20,000 people lost their lives. Now, this is a conflict zone. Libya has been ruled by two separate governments ever since the United States stepped in to destabilize the country. And U.S. drones flying out of Niger into the southwest portion of Libya have been continuing to try to destabilize the country. We've provided weapons, munitions, and training even to some of the parties at war here. But this situation doesn't have anything to do with the conflict necessarily, but rather another dangerous and tragic situation that has befallen the Libyan people. So this hurricane, basically Mediterranean storm Daniel, now I don't think it was actually up to hurricane force, but it formed on the Mediterranean and it dumped a ton of water onto Libya and other parts of North Africa. And it caused casualties in other places as well, dumping quite a bit of rain. And of course, it's a drought. It's a desert there, right? I mean, this is not used to getting this much water anywhere. Well, Derna has a river going right down the middle of the city, right down the middle of its downtown. It's right on the coast, and up in the mountains, you have the water come down. They're famous for having this waterfall there, or at least they used to have this waterfall. And they had two dams upstream. Both of these dams failed. And like I said, this happened at 3 a.m. in the morning. Catastrophic. And so the flood took place between 3 a.m. and peaked at around 3:30 a.m. Just this wall of water. They say in some places it was 30 feet tall. Just plowing right through the downtown. And I've said this on numerous occasions, folks, you need to be aware of the infrastructure that's around you. Do you have a dam upstream of you? Like if a dam upstream of you were to burst, would you get flooded? Do you know where the water flows and where it flows to? And do you kind of have an understanding of how much water is in those dams? Talk about where does your drinking water come from? What streams, what rivers, what lakes and reservoirs feed into your drinking water? What would it take for your drinking water to be gone? Because that's one of the problems they're having in Derna now. They have no clean drinking water in the city. Now, international aid has been coming. The international aid started to get to Benghazi, which is about 150 miles away. And that started arriving on Tuesday. But with the situation in civil war, it took even longer for the aid and starting to get rescue workers to the city of Derna. And so far they have found 11,300 people who have been confirmed dead. But there's still another 10,000 missing. Now that may happen out in Hawaii, but in this situation it's just because they haven't, many of the buildings have collapsed. But this is not a government cover-up of why they have so many people missing still. A lot of these people have been washed out to sea, and so there's a lot of people being washed up onto the beaches, and they're still finding people. But they're expecting that it's unlikely that of this 10,000 more missing people that any of them have survived. So that's over 20,000 people dead is the projection. It's crazy. Now, what does a city do to... how can you defend against a wall of water 30 feet tall? That's a 3-story building in some places coming down. I mean, we're talking about whole blocks, whole city blocks wiped out. I've looked at some of the drone footage of before and after, satellite footage of some of the downtown areas, and we're talking about multi-story buildings just wiped out, just gone. Not even the ruins of them, not even damaged, but just gone. Just wiped away. Bridges, roads, sections of roads have been ripped up, and that's hampering a lot of the relief efforts. Also, what we're seeing on the ground there too is that everybody is now a first responder. And I know we talk about getting medical training, medical first aid, learning skills, having tools. Because, friends, if a major disaster happens in your city, where you live, no matter how far out it is, do you have the tools and the skills to be a first responder to help people? Hopefully it never happens to you. Hopefully it doesn't. But in the city of Derna, it has certainly happened, and everyone is out there trying to recover people, and they're having to do mass graves. They have water, standing water all over the city. They don't have any drinking water, and so they're trying to find alternate sources of drinking water. And the situation is of course, power is out. So international aid coming in. So we have places like Egypt sending aid, Turkey. The United States is sending money, with Germany and England sending assistance and search teams, recovery teams. Obviously, they're going to need a lot of dogs to help find people who are buried. And really where they are now, this late into the week, is they're just trying to get all the people out of the rubble that aren't going to make it. I'm avoiding using certain words, and if you're hearing that, I am doing that intentionally. So this massive storm has changed dramatically the landscape. Something that they thought was impossible to hit their city, something that could never happen, has happened. What impossible things that they tell you could never happen to where you are, could happen where you are? Do you have nuclear power plants near you? Do you have, like I said, dams upstream of you? Do you have water supply systems that are potentially that could be damaged? Or if there's a drought and the water intakes come out of the water and the water level goes down, right? All these different things, forest fires that can happen, wildfires. What things could potentially happen to you that you keep telling yourself and all your neighbors tell you could not happen where you are? Because I think that what the biggest lesson we can get out of Derna is they never expected this to happen. And it put them all in a situation where they had to react and respond to a crisis situation like they've never seen before. And dealing with those type of disasters, we need help from the outside. When you have a disaster like that, you absolutely need help coming in from, in this case, internationally, from regionally. And you need that. But also the people of the city, the people of the town, the people of the area need to stand up. Because in this case, it took days for first responders from out of the city to come. This disaster didn't happen at a convenient time, and that's one of the things I really challenge you with. I've actually heard this story when we were in Kentucky, when we were looking at the flood waters that devastated a lot of the communities in eastern Kentucky last year. That was a story we heard, that the river rose in the middle of the night. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody heard it coming. One of the older ladies that we were talking to, she was in her bedroom, and she woke up, and her bed was floating. in her room. It was off the ground, and it was floating, and she was worried, you know, whether she was going to drown in her bedroom. And the water came up the side of her bed, and then it did go down. With these flash floods, with floods like this, the people in Derna were extremely surprised at the amount of water that was coming. Some of the survivors sharing stories of getting up onto the rooftops of their buildings, and luckily their buildings did not collapse, which is why they're survivors. But they heard a loud bang before things happened. I don't know if that's a transformer that blew up, or potentially hearing even a dam bursting, potentially. But they heard a loud explosion, it sounded like, and then they got hit with this wall of water. Woke up some of the people who survived. A lot of people didn't. And if you're near a river basin, if you're near flood areas, you need to be aware of when it rains where you are and when it rains upstream of where you are. Because it doesn't have to rain where you are in order for you to get flooded. And we see this as well. And be aware of just how saturated the ground is with water, and be on the alert when there is potential floods. In the United States and a lot of the developed world, we have advanced warnings on flooding, on when that can happen. A lot of us get alerts on our phones now. Take those things seriously. Understand your risk of where your home is and how susceptible you are to these type of incidents, whether it's wildfire, or whether it's flooding, or whether it's some other type of catastrophe. Where are the rail lines that are near your house? Where could there be train wrecks that could potentially spill or catch fire near your home and cause chemicals? Or are there chemical plants that are upwind of you? These are things that you kind of need to get a map out and start looking. You can get aviation maps. A lot of times they will mark on aviation maps. You can just pull them up online. And you can see a lot of these critical facilities like chemical plants, nuclear power plants, and dams and stuff like that, critical infrastructure. A lot of that will show up on airplane maps. You can look them up on Google Maps. You can just explore your area. If you don't know your area very well, see what kind of situations could develop in your area. And please do be praying for the people in Derna and the people who are helping them, the first responders, as well as all the relief workers that are in the city trying to help them. They have about 30,000 people have been displaced due to these floods. And they've already had a rough go of it there in Libya. All right, folks, hopefully this has been useful or helpful to you. If so, you might want to check out another video from this channel. There's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.